Rowan wanted us to look at British American Tobacco. Rowan, our Williams percentage R indicator has now changed that minus 50 level into a support, and that is seen as positive. That tells us that the instrument can easily take the momentum a lot higher and that the momentum to the top can escalate. But I'm sitting here with an ugly head and shoulder formation, Rowan. Left shoulder, smaller left shoulder, another massive left shoulder, another head. Some might even call this a double head, and then multiple right shoulders. And a head and shoulder formation is a warning formation. So if this neckline, weighing at 516 Rand 11 cents, starts to change into a resistance, British American Tobacco can go a lot lower. And some of our viewers know by now, the target is either the left or the right shoulder projected downwards from the neckline, can take it to 438.64, or the full target of the formation is the length of the head projected downwards from the neckline. 287.51 is a possible target should the full formation play out. However, if British American Tobacco can start to consolidate above that right shoulder, 591.46, or the left shoulder, weighing at 609 Rand 99, the negativity around this head and shoulder formation will be off the table. What is a bigger concern for me is the fact, Rowan, that this head and shoulder formation is sitting at the bottom part after a massive sell-off. And if I go back to July 2016, that is very concerning because usually a head and shoulder formation appears at the top of a rally. But in this case, it looks almost like a Mediclinic graph where our head and shoulder appears at the bottom after a sell-off, which makes it even more dangerous. But let's hope the weaker rand and some more smokers out there might support this share to higher levels, and that neckline does not change into a resistance. For a short-term trader, and this minus 50 level, changing into a support, you can easily make use of a bounce on the share. Fumani wanted us to look at Nampak. Ticker on our exchange, NPK. Fumani, it has already had a beautiful rally. And yes, it is overbought at the moment on our Williams percentage R. It's sitting there on a minus 20 at the moment. But we can see that there is still, and I want to draw this for you, a beautiful cup, small right shoulder, and another bigger handle, possibly in the making. And the optimism around this formation for Mani will only be confirmed once that neckline that I've drawn in there changes into a support, and that is waiting at 3 Rand 45. So above 3 Rand 45, the optimism of this cup and handle will be on the table. What is the target of the cup and handle? Obviously, it is the length of the handle projected upwards from the neckline can take us back to 5 Rand 10, and the full cup of the cup and handle, the length of it projected upwards can take us back to 637. The optimism around this cup and handle for Mani will be off the table if this bottom part of my handle, waiting at 1 Rand 97, starts to change into a resistance. We'll say, hey, all optimism is off the table, and the cup and handle has become obsolete, and we assume then that the momentum to the bottom continues. Take note, my 40-week moving average has now changed into a support. And if I go back, we can see in the past, it was a critical level to sustain the momentum, and it hasn't lasted long. So let's hope that in this case, coming from such a low level, Nampak can keep that 40-week moving average as support and can sustain the momentum to the top. Last week, we can see on the candle, there has been some profit taking. That long tail at the top tells us there has been some profit taking place. Some traders has taken some profit, and so let's see what they do this week. Clear doji candle. Let's hope that they can take that resistance waiting at 330 and change that into a support. Just want to make sure this is not a window. The high of the 26th of July is 283 and that low is 284. No, it's not a window there, so there's no concern that it might pull back first close to window and then bounce a little bit higher. If that low, Fumani, of the handle is maybe too low for you for a protection level, you can either use that 40-week moving average running at 257. But look at your average true range. Make sure there is enough breathing space for the share. Kevin wanted us to look at the British pound against the rand. Currency pair. Obviously, we know that the strength in the dollar has weakened our dear rand at the moment. And yes, it is overbought, Kevin. So that means the probability for the rand to maybe strengthen first against the British pound is on the cards. We are still sitting here with an inverse cup and handle. Massive cup and an inverse handle, false break and a whipsaw that we've seen, and a second possible handle here that is a little bit lower than that high of the previous handle, and that is waiting at 21 Rand 51. Have a look. It's close to that red line, the 40-week moving average. Above the 40-week moving average, we can assume that the weakness in the rand towards the British pound will continue. However, below the 40-week moving average waiting at 20 Rand 14, we can assume that we can see a stronger rand against the British pound. And more importantly, Kevin, look at these two candles. This week's candle and the week of the 26th of July. Both of them almost found resistance at the same level there at 20 Rand 63. That is the critical level that needs to start to change into a support in order to sustain a weaker rand against the pound. However, should that level remain a resistance, we can say that this is a possible tweezer top and that we can see a stronger rand. Obviously, we've spoken before about the massive target of the rand against the British pounds, and let's be conservative this morning and take the second handle projected downwards from the neckline where the formation will be confirmed, can take us back to 1858, and only when the rand starts to consolidate above that 2063 and especially above that highest handle of the two, 2151, only above those levels can I assume that, hey, this formation has become obsolete, it's off the table, and that the momentum to the top can continue. Overbought territory, possible tweezer top, such a good fight close to the 40-week moving average. If the momentum does not keep the rand weakening, we can easily see a stronger rand against the British pound at this stage. Roger wanted us to look at Macys, listed on the New York Stock Exchange as M. And we know we've previously spoken here, Roger, about this cup and handle that has beautifully played out. And it looks like Macys is working on another possible cup and handle. And some might even call it an inverse head and shoulder formation if you want to use this as the left shoulder, massive head, and a right shoulder. Then technically this inverse head and shoulder formation has been confirmed there above $18.57. My 40-week moving average is a beautiful support. So that means my long-term sentiment has changed to positive. Yes, it is in overbought territory, but look at that line. It's clearly pointing upwards. It shows us that the momentum to the top is in place. And we can see if we go back, there are strong resistance levels there, waiting at $20.38. So Macys needs to start to change that level into a support, change that level of $21.10 into a support, and especially $22.30 in order to take this, inverse head and shoulder formation a lot higher. There's no window that I could see on the weekly graph on Macys, but I mean, if we look back and we just zoom out, we can see from what an incredible low level Macys is coming. And if we are very brave, the full target of our inverse head and shoulder is the length of the head projected upwards from the head, can take us back to $30.71 on Macys. That 40-week moving average is a critical level, Roger, waiting at $15.52 that needs to remain a support in order to sustain the momentum to the top. Liz wanted us to look at the grocery outlet. Ticker on the NASDAQ, is GO. And we can see, Liz, that the momentum to the bottom is clearly in place. Yes, it is oversold, but look at that massive bearish belt hold line candle. As soon as it opened, they've just managed to knock it down a lot lower. Do not try to catch a falling knife. Wait for the share to stop dropping. Wait for it to find a support. Wait for it to start consolidating sideways. You want an indication that the buyers are protecting the share and that the sellers are not the strongest party anymore. And have a look here. What is even more concerning about the share is every time it bounced, it went lower and lower. So lower highs are clearly visible on this grocery outlet share. So I would be careful, Liz, to maybe get sucked in too quickly and then just to get spit out if the momentum to the top does not continue. So at the moment, I would say sit on your hands, wait for confirmation of a turnaround, wait for that minus 80 level on your Williams percentage R to change into a support before you start to nibble on the share. And take a look, this previous support there on grocery outlet, waiting at $28.12, has now changed into a resistance. And that tells you the share is in new breakdown territory and it can go a lot lower. Yes, it might be a fantastic buy at the right time, but I would wait for confirmation before I start to accumulate a share that has just got lower highs below the 40-week moving average and a clear selling pressure is visible. Do not forget to send your request through for next week's show. Have a fantastic week. Take care.